Next up in the Pro Tour Gauntlet, we have Pedro Carvalho's blue-red Thing in the Ice burn deck. This deck is sweet. He piloted it to a 9-1 record in the standard portion of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. Really looking forwards to playing with it. Let's go down to the match. All right, friends, here we are for our match between, well, we don't know what we're playing yet, but we're playing Pedro Carvalho's red-blue burn, discard, sweet madness, craziness deck. We're on the draw here. I'm going to go ahead and try to keep this hand. No idea what we're playing against, but I have to assume a Fevered Visions on turn 3 is pretty nice. Okay, another game trail on turn 1. So just like our previous match with Lucas Blowan's deck, we might be facing off against one of the Eldrazi decks. I'm actually going to lead with Sheevan Reef here since we drew that Dispel. I don't think the opponent's going to play an instant, but if they do go with Grapple or something, we can always just Dispel it. All right, Island probably signifies, yeah, this is looking like the Teamer Emerge deck. This could very well be Owen's Turnwald's deck that he piloted to a second place at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. Thing in the Ice off the top is a pretty good draw. I guess I go ahead and just cast that here. Vessel of Nascency did some real work during the Pro Tour, and pretty nice card there for the opponent. Yeah, Nissa's Pilgrimage. I'm going to go ahead and assume this is Teamer Emerge. It could be the Andrew Brown list as well. There are a few different Teamer Emerge lists, but we'll have to see what we can do here. I'm going to go ahead and just slam this Fevered Visions. I think it's probably one of the best cards in this matchup for us. Of course, the Fevered Visions, you can read it there. At the beginning of each player's end step, that player draws a card. If the player is your opponent and has 4 more cards in hand, well, Fevered Visions deals 2 damage to him or her. So almost assuredly going to be dealing quite a bit of damage here with the Visions. And in fact, drawing the second one's great for me. I'm going to go ahead and just cast that out next turn while the opponent sits there and ramps. All right, so opponent currently has 6 lands on the battlefield, potentially 7 next turn, and they have sorcery, land, instant, enchantment. So we're about 2 turns away from seeing an Emrakul potentially. Which is pretty bad news for me, but you know what? With these double Visions, we're going to give it a shot here. Just going to play a second Visions and pass. Looking for some burn, direct damage burn to the face. I guess the Emrakul isn't that terrifying. I mean, I guess it is. It's a 13/13 flying trample, of course, but other than that, there's not too much going on. All right, a Pilgrim's Eye from the opponent. That's going to give them an artifact and a creature in the graveyard, should it find its way there. In fact, I wouldn't mind drawing like an Incendiary command just to exile that so that they don't get the Emerge value and they also don't get the Delirium value here. Vision's doing some nice work. 4 damage to the opponent. All right, and what are we going to find? We find an Unsubstantiate. That was actually a really good draw. I think we probably just want to hold that open. I think we're going to Tormenting Voice here, discarding one of our lands. So let's play a mountain. Let's Tormenting Voice, discarding a mountain. And we find ourselves a Thermo Alchemist and another Unsubstantiate. Yeah, I'm just going to hold up the counters here. We're going to draw 2 cards at end of turn off of the Visions, but I don't mind discarding. This gives us some nice options. I don't think Lightning Axe is necessary here, but we'll see. All right, opponent uses their Vessel of Nascency in response. Does not find anything amazing. No Emrakul at least, but they might very well have that in their hand already. I think I'm going to go ahead and discard the Thermo Alchemist. And so the problem is here, if the opponent plays Emrakul next turn, they're going to have so many options. Like, that could be very, very bad for me. Let's discard the Alchemist here. I'm not even sure the Dispel is that great versus the opponent. I mean, I know it hits the grapple, but that's about it. I think we're going to discard our own Lightning Axe. It's very possible my own Unsubstantiates ruin me, though. Like maybe I was supposed to just play out my Thermo Alchemist, but then again, the bounce and stuff could have easily just hosed me. Let's see what the opponent, like if we had played a turn 2 Thermo Alchemist instead of Thing in the Ice, I think this game was already over. Oh wow, this is great. Okay, so if the opponent just has a Nissa's Pilgrimage, that means we're not going to get Emrakul this turn, and I think we're probably in a fine spot. I'm just going to let that resolve, and then go for a bounce on the Pilgrim's Eye at end of turn, because the opponent could flash in a potential Elder Deep Fiend, and I don't want him to be able to do so. All right, so Visions resolving. We're going to get 2 nice triggers there. I'm going to go ahead and go for a bounce end of turn. That means they're unable to cast, or rather emerge, their Elder Deep Fiend on my turn. They can cast it in response here, which is perfectly fine. I think we can actually kill the opponent with our Thing in the Ice. Okay, so it is in fact the Elder Deep Fiend. As you can see, they're sacking their Pilgrim's Eye here. And tapping my stuff on their end of turn is not relevant. In fact, I'm going to float a blue in response here. And I'm going to dispel my own Unsubstantiate. By doing so, I only have to cast 1 spell next turn to get the Thing in the Ice trigger. And yeah, we should be able to win there. So counter our own spell. We have 1 open, and Collective Defiance should just win the game here. Let's see, deals 3 damage to target opponent. I'm going to choose you. 1, 2, 3. That transformed Thing in the Ice. Thing in the Ice, of course, has... Oh, this is a horror. Well, the more you know. Good thing we had another Unsubstantiate there. I could have just used the Collective Defiance to kill the Dryad and not show him another Unsubstantiate, but luckily we had the way to kill them in our hand. Wow, that could have been a huge mistake. If I didn't have that Unsubstantiate, I might have actually just punted the game away. But yeah, this deck is awesome. This is really my style of deck, and as you can see here as we go to sideboarding, it is crazy. Versus the Teamer Emerge deck, I think you're looking to bring in, what? Spell Shrivels? That seems fine. Negates are not the best, but they're definitely a thing. The opponent has a lot of ramp spells, and like you want to be able to counter the grapple with the pasts. I think the Gold Knight Castigators are kind of interesting as well. They come down early and beat really hard, but this makes it so Emrakul is a one-shot kill on you. I'm actually not sure how to sideboard with this deck. Kind of interesting. Like maybe the Bedlam Revelers are good too. What's bad here? I think we leave in the Lightning Axes, just as a way to get some quick discard and 1 mana burn spell. This kills the Pilgrim's Eye and the Druids, but it doesn't kill the Elder Deep Fiend, which is a problem. I think I'm gonna leave in the Dispels. I think they probably bring in something. I'm actually, again, not sure how to sideboard. Maybe I'm just supposed to take out all these 1 mana burn spells. Although that feels super awkward. Like the Impulses, I guess, can take out the 3/3s and the 1/1 flyers. Okay, so we'll take out the Lightning Axes. I'm going to bring in Spell Shrivel for sure. I feel like I'm probably supposed to bring in some number of Castigators. But I'm not actually 100% sure. Like maybe that's just too much of a liability versus them. This is probably better suited against the more control-y decks like the Black-White deck. And maybe the Reveler is a little bit better of an option here. We don't want Nahiri's Wrath. And again, I feel like the Negates are probably good, but I'm just not sure what I would be taking out. I guess the Dispels are fine to take out. Like, Negate then hits everything else, right? Let's try this out. By no means am I a professional here, and that's actually one of the ideas of the Pro Tour Gauntlet, is that it lets everybody try out the Pro Tour decks. And so here we are. I'm going to go with this. Let's go to game 2. All right, here we are for game 2 in our match with Pedro Carvalho's blue-red deck versus what we now know is the Teamer Emerge list. This hand looks great to me. Any hand with the Fevered Visions is super good versus these slower decks. They just have a really hard time dealing with it. Plus, they generally have a ton of cards in hand, and we actually have quite a few ways to interact with the opponent here. So, I'm going to lead with the Wandering Fumarole. the only land that enters the battlefield tapped on our side. And I think I'm just going to jam the turn 2 Thermo Alchemist. Thinking the ice is really nice, but I think the Alchemist is what we want to do. We want to kind of kill the opponent as quickly as possible. Another Alchemist there, not a terrible draw. I think holding up Negate is fine, but not stellar. Like, the opponent will probably cast Nissa's Pilgrimage or something here. Okay, so they did bring in summary dismissals. They did not find a land to note, which is really awkward. What did they end up taking? They cast Gather. Looks like they took the Emrakul. Okay. Well, now we get to just slam the Fevered Visions and go to work. And I think we just sit behind this Visions now, holding up Negate as much as possible. This is going to help the opponent find their land drops, which is kind of awkward. But remember, it's not until end of turn that they get to do so. All right, Pilgrim's Eye. So right now the opponent has Sorcery, Instant, Enchantment in the graveyard. So that's only Delirium 3. And they have access to 4 mana right now. End of turn. Let's make sure we don't forget to ping. Vision's drawing them a card. All right, well, so we didn't hit a land, which is a little bit awkward, but not the worst case. Again, I think I'm going to go with another Thermo Alchemist here just to keep the clock quick. But it's very possible I'm supposed to play out the thing in the ice and just have that open in case things go awry. Jeez. Only 3 lands in our top 13. This could be a problem. We're not really doing too much right now. And I think at this point, I'm just going to hold open Negate and Unsubstantiate. The double Thermo Alchemist with the Fevered Vision should be good enough for now. And I'm pretty scared of an Emrakul coming down real quick. Yeah. So the opponent has access to potentially 7 mana next turn. They have Enchantment, Sorcery, Land, Creature, Instant. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they can potentially cast Emrakul in 2 turns, if I'm counting right. 6, 7. So they have 7 mana next turn, and then they have Enchantment, Sorcery, Land, Creature, Instant. Yeah. So I'm going to have to kind of stabilize here. Opponent goes down to 14 off of that Fevered Visions. Okay, there's a land. That's good. So I think we just play land and pass now. Holding up Negate, Unsubstantiate, Fiery Temper, and double Alchemist triggers. Just discard one of these things in the ice. At this point, we're just looking to burn the opponent out. Double Fiery Temper, double Thermo Alchemist should be able to do it before the opponent can go off, which is probably next turn. Okay, now they have an artifact creature in the graveyard, so next turn Emrakul is a thing. I need to burn them out quickly here. And let's see, I have, well, presumably 2 damage here with the Visions. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I should actually be able to kill them here. If they don't do anything relevant, which they're not, we kill them on our next turn. Okay, Elder Deep Fiend. They can't actually do anything with that either. Yep, and that should be game. Double Thermo Alchemist, actually super sweet. I've been brewing around with that card on my own stream, but watch the power it does here. So the opponent goes to 12, then they go to 11, 10, Fiery Temper down to 7, double trigger, untapping the Alchemists, putting down to 5, and then on our turn we would burn them for another 7 or so. So that was sweet. I really like Pedro Carvalho's red-blue list. I think it actually has game versus all of the ramp decks that are trying to hit Emrakul, just because it goes way underneath them. It provides a threat, whether it be Thermal Alchemist or, a thing in the ice, Fever Visions in the main, and then just gets them before they can do anything. Sure, if they do resolve Emrakul, it could be very, very problematic for you. Obviously, because they can kill your own creatures and whatnot, but I think this deck is fast enough and interactive enough to go underneath them. So that was a look at Pedro Carvalho's 9-1 deck in the standard portion of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. Hopefully you guys get a chance to play along with this one. This one was a real fun one to play with.